Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that America's own unbeaten up-and-comer in the featherweight division, Tiaria Brown. Tiaria has landed herself a fight on what is a Danny Garcia promotion. You heard that right, Danny Garcia of the PBC, Danny Swift. An event that goes by the name Tale of Garcia.
Is he gonna be fighting?
No, he's not. But Tiaria Brown is. Tiaria is going to be facing the Dominican Republic's own Diana Vargas. That is the same Diana Vargas that Sky Nicholson thoroughly outboxed over 10 rounds in her last outing. Diana's 33, whereas Tiaria's 36. This is for the vacant WBC interim title, the opportunity that Tiara's been waiting for. If she wins that interim title, she can force the fight with the winner of Nicholson versus Chapman. All she's got to do is make it past Diana. I think she can. I think she will. Tiara sports professional record, an unblemished record, 17 wins with no losses, no draws, 11 knockouts. To Diana Vargas, who sports professional record of 19 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 12 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 21 professional bouts. Still coming off that loss, that lopsided decision loss to Sky Nicholson. By now, the blueprint is out on Diana. She suffered her first professional loss to Vivian Rodriguez, and she suffered her second professional loss to Sky Nicholson, with the common denominator being movement. Diana struggles with movement. Mid-range to inside, she's a strong puncher, a knockout puncher, but if you're on the fly, if you're on the move, she's lost in the sauce, because she's got cement blocks for feet. She's strong, she's plenty strong when she can sit in the pocket and sit on her punches, but if she has to give chase, she's vulnerable. Tough sequence of fights for the Dominican Republic's Diana Vargas, from Sky Nicholson to Tiara Brown.
Yeesh.
The only hope for Diana is that because Tiara Brown is so much older than Vivian Rodriguez and so much older than Sky Nicholson, perhaps she'll be a bit slower and easier to catch.
It's her only chance.
That maybe Tiara isn't as light on her feet, quite as light on her feet as those fighters are, but she's a bigger puncher than those fighters are. So while she might be slightly easier to catch, do you really want to trade punches with her? Tiara should be the favorite going in. I like her chances. And it is a chance to make a statement, because where Sky Nicholson won a lopsided decision over this same Diana Vargas, maybe Tiara can do one better and stop her. Maybe she can knock her out. Diana was last in action in July of this year opposite the ring Sky Nicholson, who I just mentioned. Before that, she had a fight right before that in June opposite the ring Marcela Nieto. She's fought 2 times this year. Where Tiaria was last in action in June of this year opposite the ring Gabriela Bouvier, who she won a unanimous decision against. Before that, in February, she fought Angie Romero, who she stopped in 1 round. Tiara has fought 2 times this year, so I expect her to be sharp in October when this fight goes down. Neither fighter has any ring rust they need to shake off. Both fighters have seen action 2 times this year, and this will be their 3rd fight this calendar year. First glance, I like Tiara Brown's chances to become WBC interim champion and challenge the winner of Nicholson versus Chapman, though she's got more history with Sky than she does with Raven. It's the funniest thing.
What is?
Tiara seems focused on Sky Nicholson, where I like her chances a little better against Raven than I do against Sky. Styles make fights. Sky is the younger, fresher, faster fighter of the 2, light on her feet, and she's going to stay on the outside behind her jab. She's not going to make herself available for Tiara Brown's power. Raven Chapman will, because Raven's a mid-range to inside fighter. Shorter arms and throws, shorter punches, bursts of combinations. She's the more aggressive fighter of the 2. You don't necessarily have to work as hard to find Raven as you do against Sky. Sky's not going to stand in one spot, and she's not going to trade. So even if you have power, you may not get the chance to use it. Sky's the one that Tiara's after. Sky's the one that Tiara's been calling out. We'll see what happens between those 2, between Raven and Sky. Tiara should make it through this fight. I like her chances. At first glance, I think at minimum, she can outpoint Diana Vargas. I think she's going to win next month. The real question is who's going to win between Sky and Raven, because whoever wins, that's who Tiara will go after. I want to say that I do like Sky Nicholson's confidence going into this Raven Chapman fight. 50-50 fight on paper, but not in her mind. She seems supremely confident that she can beat Raven Chapman, who I think could prove to be a handful. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sky will prove me wrong and make it look easy like she did against Vargas. We have to see. Things are heating up at 126 pounds. In men's super middleweight news as it pertains to this past weekend's box office fight, a Twitter user that goes by the name Granddad Bob asked veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael, what did the Canelo vs. Berlanga pay-per-view do? To which Dan Rafael responded, 750,000 pay-per-view buys is a lie. End. You might have seen one or two people the last day or so saying that the pay-per-view did at or around 750,000 buys. I shied away from those rumors because it's too soon to know what the pay-per-view actually did. Just 1 or 2 days after the fight? I don't think so. At minimum, you've got to give it about a week. Twitter user that goes by the name UseAFatPhaseOnline responded by saying, I'd be shocked if it did over 250,000. To which Dan Rafael responded, way over that. I will have a more precise number later this week, but it did very well. So it didn't do 750,000, but it did very well. At least more than 250. Way more, according to Dan. Leading up to the fight, I talked about how Canelo Alvarez, all by himself, without a high-profile dance partner that has a fan base, is good for in between 400 to 500,000 pay-per-view buys. That's all on his own. Without a high-profile dance partner. But with a high-profile dance partner, or just a partner that has a profile of any kind, he might be able to do in between 6 and 7. A dance partner with the Puerto Rican fight fans behind them, at least some of them, enough that he might do in between 5 and 6, maybe 6 and 7. The Puerto Rican fight fans are just as loyal, just as fiercely loyal as the Mexican fight fans are. So if you put them together, you'll be able to do decent numbers. Now, I don't think anybody looks at Edgar as being this era's Felix Trinidad or this era's Miguel Cotto, but still, on a Saturday night, if you want to watch a fight and you want to root for your own, this was there. Curious what the pay-per-view numbers are going to be exactly, but I'm really not surprised if it's anywhere in the neighborhood of 5 and 6 or 6 and 7. According to Dan, it did very well, so we'll see. Some aren't happy to hear it. Some aren't happy to hear that in spite of all the podcasters and all the criticisms, all the critics, Canelo Alvarez is still doing robust numbers, doing what he's doing because it goes against what they've been saying. Their complaints. It makes them feel almost powerless that for all the time they spend tearing this fighter down, he still has a lot of people in his corner, more people than the fighters that you put on a pedestal, that you like to prop up. If Gervonta Davis is supposed to be the face of boxing, how do the numbers for his last fight compare to Canelo's? It's not what some people want to hear, that Canelo Alvarez, in spite of all the criticism he receives, still has that kind of drawing power, because if he does, he doesn't have to waste his time on you and whatever you think he should be doing. Who cares? Spend less time podcasting, less time criticizing, and more time supporting the fighters that you do like, because they need it. Canelo don't need you. Your seal of approval, your endorsement, your respect, he doesn't need anything that you provide, which isn't very much to begin with. You bums. You digital shoplifters that don't even support the fighters you do claim to like. You don't support anything, anyone. You just complain. Sit online all day complaining as if you're paying for any of this. That level of fealty has everything to do with Canelo's track record and what he has provided the paying customer. Just the other day I saw Nestor Gibbs asking, why don't more Mexican fight fans gravitate towards David Benavidez? Why don't they rally support around him? And that's why. What he hasn't provided them. You keep trying to fool people into supporting these fighters that have done little more than take shortcuts. It's no wonder that David's headlined 2 pay-per-views that didn't sell anything, and now he's relegated to boxing on Gervonta Davis's undercards. You see, that's why. You don't want to admit it, you don't want to wrap your mind around it, but boxing fans resent that kind of crap. Talking about boxing fans, not mooches and leeches and stream Easters. Parasites. I'm not talking talking about parasites. I'm talking about actual boxing fans that support the sport of boxing with their hard-earned dollars, because that is what it is to be a fan. Patronage. David doesn't have that, because you don't spend as much time as super middleweight as he did and have little to nothing to show for it unless you deliberately stayed on easy street. So that when Canelo gets there, you want to start making demands as big as you are. You didn't want to do any of the heavy lifting. What you're hoping is that we'll get all caught up in the wave, caught up in the moment, and start supporting David for love of the fight. To see the fight. Yeah, sure, I'll see it if they make it, but if they don't make it, I'll be alright. Canelo's Hall of Fame ticket, it's punched, with or without David Benavidez. Suck on that. Men's Cruiserweight news, very disgruntled Ryan Rozicki took to his social media and stated, "I knew right then and there this man was a fake fighter. 9 months I spent training to cave in this clown's skull, and waiting for this fight to happen, I sacrificed 9 months of my career, put my life on hold financially, used up all my sponsor funds for camp, put my body and my mind through hell for this, missed time with family. The sacrifices are endless. 3 training camps, 4 or 5 postponements for every excuse in the book. Now again, just found out he postponed the fight again. I broke the man when I went to Miami and looked into that weak soul. He broke right there and everyone knew it. Keep the freaking belt, champ. This guy is the definition of a paper champion. Possibly the worst excuse for a champion our sport has ever seen. Legit in history. This guy fights once every couple of years, won a vacant belt off an over-the-hill guy who had previously been knocked out in his fight before, then ducks, dodges, and runs from the mandatory challenger, me, so that he can hang on to that title for dear life. Makes himself look like an absolute fool by contradicting literally everything he said in interviews, then starts posting lies and bullshit about me trying to gain support, knowing very well the fight was never going to happen. A true scumbag of a human. After all this, I won't even give this guy the chance to box me. If he wants to be a man, he can fly to Canada and come see me on the pavement and fight me in a consensual fight with no rules and see how that goes for him. Other than that, I'm done with this loser. The world knows you found your way out. New fight announcement coming soon. I'll take the W anyway, without it on my official record. The guy was beat before I even got to throw a punch. I look forward to getting a fight scheduled with a real fighter. Someone who will fight me without any hesitation or games. I ain't looking to negotiate and play this bullshit business game anymore with these guys at the quote-unquote top. We will have something locked in this week. Sorry to inform everyone who had booked flights and hotels to come see this. Truly gutted. I didn't get my chance to crack this scumbag's head. Ryan posted this to his Instagram account 2 days ago, and I didn't want to react to it right away. I wanted to make sure that the fight was really off. Then I came across this video from the champion himself, Mikaelian.
So I just got informed that the fight on the 28th was unfortunately cancelled. I don't know for whatever reason, but certainly not on my end. I didn't pull out or anything. I'm in training camp and ready. So I don't know what's going on there, and I can't give any information because I just don't know why the fight is cancelled.
Mikaelian says that he didn't pull out of the fight, and the cancellation isn't on his end of it. But bear in mind, it's his promoter putting it on. It was a Don King show, so when the show gets canceled, how is it not on his end if it's promoted by Don King? Who else would have canceled it if not Don King? We'll get to that. Ryan Rozicki responded to the video by saying, "Since this guy's got me blocked from viewing his stories, I'll post it myself. He knew before we knew why it was quote-unquote canceled. Don King, your promoter is sick. Wish him well. That's the reason. You pulled out of the fight, you freaking coward. Sad excuse for a champion mutt. Stop lying to the people and just give that belt up. Time for a worthy WBC champion. Get this fuzzy little curly-haired prick out of boxing." What's going on here? What I think is going on here is, by my count, there have been 2 postponements. 2. The first one was because Mikaelian said he got cut. He said he got cut in sparring leading up to the fight, so they had to push it back. And they did. Just for him to come out with this earlier today, saying that the fight is off, he doesn't know why, he didn't pull out, but it's canceled.
Well, who would have canceled it if not your promoter? He was the one putting it on.
Don King is a really old guy, to be honest with you. I'm a bit surprised that he's still around, let alone still promoting boxers and boxing matches, given his reputation. So it's entirely possible that at his age, he fell ill. Though even if he did, is that justifiable cause to cancel the whole show? I'm not sure. I'm not.
That old saying comes to mind, that the show must go on.
This one didn't. And the old cynic in me that doesn't take this story at face value, because I remember in between the first postponement of this fight and the second postponement of this fight, Noel Mikaelian traveled to the UK. He went to Sky Sports, and while he was there, he called out Chris Billum-Smith,
WBO champion.
You figure that if your fight with Ryan is still on, it's just postponed, but it's still on, why are you calling out somebody else for a fight?
You just so happen to be in the UK, and you just so happen to be outside of Sky Sports. You just so happen to stop by for an interview, a public call out. These are coincidences.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you were looking for a way out. Maybe you were hoping that if you go to Sky, they'll give you some step-aside money to give to Ryan so that you can go unify with Chris for more money, more than you'd make to fight Ryan.
If I didn't know better.
So the public call-out goes nowhere. The fight with Ryan gets rescheduled just to end up getting postponed again. This time, Noel claims he doesn't know why. All he knows is it was canceled. He didn't pull out. It's not on his end, but it's on his promoters?
Because who else would have canceled it?
What I think it is? Noel doesn't want to roll the dice with Ryan. No, he doesn't want to do it. Not when 3 of the 4 champions at this weight are off boxing and Riyadh season shows, making Riyadh season money, and he's stuck with the Canadian kid, fighting for peanuts on the dollar on a Don King promotion. He doesn't want to do it.
I don't want to say the guy's scared, but maybe he thinks it's not worth his time, that he could be making better money doing something else.
Not just him. Don King, too. Don putting on the show means Don's putting up the money.
He would have to.
Why do that when you can outsource your champion to a Riyadh season show and all you've got to do is take your cut? At no expense to him. He doesn't have to worry about doing a whole show. He can outsource Noel to a Riyadh season show, doesn't cost him anything, and he gets his cut from Noel's purse. That's probably what's going on here.
You think they don't know that CBS, Zerto Ramirez, and Jayo Pataya are set to make Saudi money while Noel is stuck with the Canadian kid?
They want to get in on that action too, and what this could be is them deliberately sabotaging the fight so they can buy themselves more time to get something going with Turkey. That's what this could be. The disconnect is Ryan is mandatory.
He's not some voluntary challenger that's inconvenienced. He is owed a title shot. So how will the World Boxing Council react to this? Will they strip Noel?
Give the title to Ryan? We'll see.